Welcome back to the Quadruple Treble Weekender, and I am joined by the Electronic Tims. I'm just going to make sure everybody can hear what's going on before I disappear from the broadcast studio. Inviting Desmond, Monty Burns, Hector and Ralph. Desmond, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great. Thanks for joining us, guys. Monty Burns, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, got you perfect. You okay there?
Yeah, sounding good. And Hector, how are you? Can you hear me okay there?
Yeah, nice, loud and clear, Paul.
Good, man. The only electronic Tim I can't see is Ralph. Is Ralph hearing us?
You've won the lottery, Paul.
Exactly. Well done, listeners and viewers. You've actually won a watch today. Ralph will be in an Amazon van somewhere trying to work his phone, so he may be joining in about 15 minutes.
No problem.
Before you depart, just a special shout out to you being the housewife's favourite now of the podcast world amongst the Celtic fan group. And as you're liberal-minded, up-to-date people, probably many house husbands' favourite as well, Paul. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
We're gender neutral here.
Good.
Hey, listen, lads, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. It really is.
Thank you very much for hosting us.
I'm going to disappear, and if Ralph comes back into the studio, I'll chuck him in. But it's over to you. You've got an hour to entertain the masses. So good luck, guys.
Thank you very much, folks. Here we go. Thank you.
Little Ham says it's time to rock and roll. Bring the noise.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi folks, thanks very much. Good afternoon, and I don't usually say good afternoon because we usually record at night and we don't usually share video, and there Hector's just turned his off because he doesn't want various crime watch producers to see him possibly. So just to introduce ourselves to folk who are not aware, we are Electronic Tims, aka eTims. You'll find us at www.etims.net. Probably one of the oldest Celtics websites. We came out of what was formerly known as the Dog Bollocks with Steve Clark and God. We hoped he could be with us today, but sadly he had other commitments. You'll find us on Twitter under at eTimsNet, and where you also find on the website you'll normally find our usual podcast, which maybe turn up once a month. And you'll also find Ralph's normally daily eTims Diary, which has a satirical look at all things going on in Celtic and Scottish football. So hopefully Ralph can join us to cover his diary a little bit more. But first of all, I'll just introduce the team. Paul John did a little bit there. So first of all, we have Hector, who's now showing in the shadows, who's our resident tactical genius, could I say, Hector? Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm doing for the oldies, the Billy Stark, kind of ghosting out the back post, so I'll kind of jump in and out.
And when you say ghosting, you're just kind of hiding from view, lovely. And of course, the man from across the water, as he's known on our site, Monty Burns. Good afternoon, Monty.
Afternoon, Desi. Great to be here as always.
Yes, thanks. And as I say, folks, hopefully Ralph can join us on what is a very special day for all of us involved today. And again, Hector highlighted the great work Paul John has done in getting us together. A mammoth achievement and very good causes, hopefully.
Sorry, Desi, can I ask you a question? Paul John, is that an East Coast thing? Should it not be John Paul? Is that what they do in the East Coast of Scotland?
Well, let me come to that in a second, Hector, because it's funny you say that, because when I was doing the agenda for today, I've written the normal. So again, folks, I dare say you're going to get a lot of Scottish Cup a lot of Scottish Cup activity and a lot of chat regards Scottish Cup today. So I've got the Scottish Cup and the Quadruple Treble. But while I was writing that down, I suddenly thought, but surely we should address the big question first. The question that everyone who listens to ACSOM is asking themselves, right? And I've written it here. So Hector, you've raised this before. Is it John Paul or is it Paul John? Because I keep calling him John Paul, as you know, because you have to keep correcting me. And then I've wrote, is it Paul John Dykes or John Paul Young? Is he related to Lyndon Dykes? How many questions can we have regarding the one?
We could spend an hour talking about this, couldn't we?
I think you could probably spend 24 hours. Maybe this is where he's jumped off, to be honest.
He's like Peter Martin Maguire, only he got a decent haircut, took about 20 years off and stuck to his guns.
Well, that is so strange that you mentioned that haircut, Monty, because obviously today we're here to try and raise some money, and we put out a shout on our Twitter over during the week to try and get people to ask for dedications while making any small donation helps folks, of course. And I've got one here from a Ms. Jerry Hall of New York, and she's written in pledging quite a bit of money if, and I quote here, that young handsome Celtic man in the snazzy Matalan jacket and snazzy haircut with the sexy Dalkeith brogue who regularly appears on my husband's Sky Sports Network talking about Celtic, will he come and do a naked butler appearance for me and the girls in California? There you go, John Paul. That's quite an invite, isn't it?
Are you sure that wasn't from you, Desi?
Hold on, it might be from my wife. I better check that again, just in case. So there you go. So we'll be reading dedications and submissions from the great and good from Celtic and beyond today. But again, folks, as always, this is all about a charity, so please try and donate where possible, and please try and tell as many people as possible. You should see details on how to submit your funds to the GoFund page, etc., down below in the ticker tape. So that should be good. But we'll just move on to the obvious topic of the weekend. I think we're going to skip the whole Lawwell out, Lennon out, etc. debate. We'll leave that to the youngsters sector, and we'll move straight on to the Scottish Cup. So the Scottish Cup tomorrow. Are we nervous at all?
Probably a bit more nervous than would have been.
Wait a minute, we're nervous. Ralph has managed to dial in. Apologise to the watching audience.
What a palaver!
Hold on, Ralph, can you explain that hat first of all? Ralph, can you put the hat on first of all, second of all?
That's my summer hat. That's for when the sun comes out, look.
Right, and also,
not look exotic and windswept and interesting.
Sorry, Ralph, my agenda's going out the window now. You're raising so many questions. Are you in the back of a police van? Just to clarify here.
No, not at all. But I'm not far from South Staffordshire headquarters. And I might pop in and get one of my Celtic tops back because they've got one after one of the games.
Nice.
Anyway,
okay,
that's neither here nor there. How you all doing?
Well done, Ralph. But we're all fine, and thanks very much for managing to dial in. So I'll just reintroduce yourself, Ralph. You are Ralph Malf from the infamous now Tim's Diary, I shall say, and especially it's been infamous recently, given the amount of balls up you've managed to make by your predictions in respect to the Celtic management setup. But you're consistent, if nothing else.
You get the information as and when it happens. And then what happens, they read it and they think, I'm going to make that guy look like an idiot. And they change everything. So in a way, we've kind of got an influence on what happens there. I just need to put it in the right words so we get what we want. How about that for an excuse?
To be fair to Ralph, he was the only fan I know that backed Mowbray 100% after St Mirren pumped his 4-0, so it's quite consistent.
He was the only guy up at the stadium with a Save Tony flag.
That's just because I won't spend any money on anything.
In fact, Ralph was the guy that was up at Celtic Park putting up the fences when Mowbray was still there, just to try and keep the board from getting into the stadium.
To keep them in. To keep him in. That was what it. The guy didn't get enough time. Him and John Barnes could have been a dream team for us, but we're just not getting any patience anymore.
No, I don't care. John Barnes was always a visionary. The man said a 2-2-2-2-2 formation or whatever it was, and then it took Craig Levein 20 years or so to pick up that intelligence. You know what I mean? John Barnes was so ahead of his time, and I should apologise to John Paul again because I forgot to say Sorry, Monty, wait a minute. Have we got to say everyone, and this is for everyone on the team. Hector, you'll know this already. We are live on ACSOM's site, so please do not swear, right? The whole Davina McCall, please do not swear, given the fact that it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We normally record this about 10 o'clock at night, so it's normally a little bit late and a little bit rough. So please try not to swear, so that's fine. It looks like we've currently raised £12,309, folks, so please keep the donations coming in. That's very good. So, Ralph, we're going to start talking about the Scottish Cup, but I'll come back to Monty. Monty, do you have something to say there?
No, I was just going to point out that Levine took the tactical thing that Barnes laid out and just simplified it. He just added 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 together and played a 1-10, which was brilliant for Scottish football, I thought. It's revolutionary. But that was it.
That's fine. And talking about Scottish football, Hector, I don't know if you've been gathering any dedications or any shout-outs recently coming in this week.
Yeah,
have you got any there?
Yeah, I got a lyrical mention from a chap in Ayrshire. And I won't sing it, you'll be pleased to know. It goes, "Hey there, you with the sad face, come over to my place and live it. Wait, 93rd fucking minute. Thanks for that from Chris Boyd." Chris Boyd.
Okay, and if anyone...
Try not to swear last of all.
If anyone in 45 seconds... If anyone in 45 seconds on the try not to swear sweepstake, with Hector, you get a double bonus. So well done.
Paul John was warned well in advance.
we were doing so well. We were doing so well there. We were doing so well. So yes,
to be fair, it wasn't me.
Exactly.
Right.
Thanks to Chris for that. Yes, and we'll keep those coming in. As I say, we've got quite a lot of dedication. We've got quite a lot of pledges too that we'll read out as we go along. But let's go back to the initial, the secondary reason we're here as well as for charity. But the Scottish Cup weekend, Ralph, seems you've managed to log in, and while we have you, because you're prone to technical difficulties, as they say in the trade. Are you scared for tomorrow, Ralph? You had a bit of apprehension when we were discussing this before.
If I'm scared, it's because I think Hearts have got a point to prove. First of all, if they had qualified for the Cup final, had the season finished in the usual way it should have finished last year, they would have maybe got a wee bit of adrenaline through them, they'd have got an impetus and perhaps avoided relegation. So they might want to prove something that way. And of course, there's a thing with Marius Salukas, the boy that died of motor neurone disease. They're all wearing 26 on their shorts for him. And I think for them, it's the day of the season. For us, it's just an argument about who plays in midfield.
Well, I think there's more. I think, to be fair, I was thinking about this last night. I think there's more than just the midfield question. Because, okay, so Monty's back there. So even if we Monty, before we come to the team, are you apprehensive for tomorrow, or are you confident?
I mean this honestly, I think it's the first time since the shutdown in March that I've genuinely been looking forward to watching a Celtic game. And it could be just that the confidence of the last two games, but I get a sense that it's not only that we turn the corner, we have a real point to prove in terms of turning that corner. And I think tomorrow gives us a huge opportunity to really, really set a tone that we would have preferred to have set maybe in August, September. But I'm genuinely really looking forward to it. And I haven't been looking forward to the Celtic game in donkeys. We've just been so poor, but we've beaten that ground. So no, looking forward to it.
Okay, start. Hector, what about yourself? Will you be coming over from the northern suburbs to my glorious south side to welcome the team at Hampden, like a lot of people are doing tomorrow?
No.
I can get you a visa, mate. I can get you a visa.
No, that's good. I'm old. Listen, I don't know if it was Hearts or whoever, but before every cup final, I've always got a bit of nerves. I think that's natural, right? I'm probably a little bit more nervous than normal because we've been so poor this season. But as Monty said there, the last couple of games, it's just the last two games, has given us a bit more hope that we're getting a bit of a team. But what concerns me the most is Lennon's comments after the victory the previous weekend is about bringing back some of the guys to play in the final who got us there. So, listen, but by that he's probably meaning one or two players. If I was him, leave it as it is, let the team go. If the team that's won the last two games goes, pretty much, I think we'll win with a couple of goals at least. If he tweaks it, I think we'll still win, but it might be tighter than it could have been. That's my probably thinking for tomorrow.
Well, see, that brings me back to what Ralph mentioned there. But you just need to address the who's going to play in midfield question because Lenny's loyalty or sentimentality. But I was thinking about this last night also. Like, so do you start the young boy in goals? I know it's like the 1 and 2, or do you go back to? Do you think he's ready for the final, so to speak? You know what I mean? Or do you go back to like Scott Bain or even do you chance your expensive Barkas? I mean, there is quite a lot of questions for Lenny to ask himself.
There's no really.
I'm a wee bit more worried than I was before.
No. I think you leave it.
We played well twice this season, and now we're feeling fine. Now I'm much more worried than I was before.
I think. Sorry, just leave it. If Lennon's got this habit, as he's shown out, right, and some of the defeats we've had in Europe, he tweaks things unnecessarily. So rather than saying just leave it, common sense. Your two centre halves play centre half. Right, the keepers came in with A2, keep that nice and solid base, keep your midfield, and maybe the only question mark is over whether Frimpong starts in right wing or whether Christie comes in, because Christie's got goals on him. Other than that, leave it. Just leave it alone.
If you take it at face value that he's not just playing the old mind games thing, which is a bit cliched anyway, if he was really to bring in people who got us to the cup final, well, he can't bring in Gordon, or he'd be playing. He can't bring in Hayes. We can't bring in a whole series of other players who played part of that run. So in reality, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Christie, Brown, like who else?
Rogic.
Okay,
did he play on Ncham? Did Ncham play at all? But again, they're all Finnish players now, aren't they?
Well,
I thought he'd gone now, that Cham. It's not showing up for months, has he?
Ncham wasn't even in the squad for last year's cup final. I'm just looking here at the 2019 cup final squad. He wasn't even in. There you go. Didn't he make a bench? Unless I can't read. So, now hold on. I'm looking at the
Yes, you're Okay, who had Monty can't read in the sweepstake for 4 minutes in?
By the way, Bonnie, we're only actually talking about, right, if we're actually only talking about one player, is it really boiling down to whether Scott Brown starts or struggles? Is that really what it's about?
And by the way, I'm correct. Ncham in our Scottish Cup final squad last year, unless Wikipedia's got it wrong. So it's Brown. That's where I was going with it. Thanks, Hector. So Christie coming in arguably strengthens the team. Brown coming in arguably, and it's debatable, weakens the team in terms of what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And I think if we stop fanning around the issue, what it's fundamentally coming down to is we need energy in the field. It's completely obvious. And with Sorrow in there and with Turnbull in there, all of a sudden we've got it. If I was in Lenny's shoes, and I'm not, I would keep Brown on the bench. I would do exactly the sort of things that we talk about. Keep the team the way it is. It's doing okay and it's growing. And if we're in the controlling position, or even if we're not, we need a kick in the ass. He's the best guy to bring off the bench, but I wouldn't start him. And that's
totally. Yeah.
So keep a blanket over his knees at his age on the bench, but because the cold weather would get to his bones and things.
So again, I think
hopefully we're 2-0 up, right? I think we're all thinking the same. Hopefully we're maybe 2-0 up with 10 to go, or ideally more than that. Then I think absolutely bring him on to help see the game out. His experience would be ideal for that. But listen, if Bruni starts tomorrow, I've no doubt he's got a point to prove. You actually might see him playing a really good game if he starts tomorrow because he's been benched the last 2 games. So I don't see it as big an issue. I'm just thinking about don't complicate matters with my thinking, Lennon. Leave it as it is.
No, but there's a difference. There's also a footballing difference here, Hector. And you are our resident tactician because Bruni plays a different game now. He plays side to side and kind of that sweeping curve at the back. Whereas we're looking for people who are driving forward. You know what I mean? So even if Bruni has a good game, it's just 30 yards back for where we actually want a driving midfielder to be. You know what I mean? So like Sorrow seems to play the ball forward a lot quicker than Bruni does. And then you've also got the other players seem to defer to Bruni a lot more. It'd be interesting. I know, like you're not the most stats-driven or stats-approving guy, so to speak. It'd be interesting to see how many touches players in the Celtic team had without Bruni being in the team. As in, did they get the ball more, or did they just pass it more to Bruni, you know what I mean? Because it does seem to be like the focus goes, he's the centre of the star and all the balls go to him and come back to him.
But Des, if you think about it, and this is the thing, I think people get sucked into this debate about Bruni, and I get it. He's a captain and everything else, right? But see the last 2 games, if you think about it, the new keeper, Duffy's come back, with Julian's a partnership, Ayer at right back is 4, Sorrow 5, probably the team. Just one player with Scott Brown, although he's a captain and focal point and leader. It's almost a brand new team. It's played the last 2 games in terms of style, position. So I wouldn't limit it just to Scott Brown. I would say it's the team's changed.
Aye, but that's what I'm saying. But if you then bring Scott Brown back, and I'm not saying Lenny should, because I think we're all in agreement that we're all forward-looking people. I think we view the Celtic team as moved on, and we all hope that Lenny views it as the same. Scott Brown has a part to play as club captain, not as team captain. I mean, like he's became a Puyol. He can go to collect the trophies for this season
and then give it back to them.
I become a
then
coach
you give
or
the trophy
whatever.
back and say, "Stick up your." I'm not going to swear. And then that's a stand against corruption and a brave new world for Scottish football.
And we now know why you're in a van on a Saturday.
The man that changed the face of football in Scotland.
By the way,
this is why Ralph's now in a van on a Saturday afternoon and he knows exactly where the police station is. That's all I'm telling. That's all I'm saying.
He's like Gene Hackman.
Burn it all.
Can I that point at you, right? Believe it or not, I think Sorrow was bought to replace Brown. That was the succession planning, wasn't it? He was brought in as a 21-year-old to come in with the team. No, but that's his role, right? His role was to hopefully be a good purchase and be the successor to Brown. Like Edward Dembele, wasn't it? About a succession plan. And sometimes it doesn't work. But that's logical, is it not? Sorrow was brought in to play that position and replace Brown.
Right, I'm so... Yes, sorry Monty, but I'm so glad Ralph and I are sitting down because Hector's now talking about succession planning at Celtic. Have we not been discussing this about 5 years in the E-Tims podcast? The one thing that we don't actually seem to have. I mean, anyway, but I want to go back to Monty.
Turnbull was brought in to be that attack mid succession. No, something
Before we jumped onto this, I looked at the squads for 2017, 2018, 2019, and thankfully I read them correctly when I presumed in jam. And the bizarre things, 2017, Dembele was on the bench. Fucking, I couldn't believe it. There was only when I looked at it again. By 2018, he's now the main man. 2018, he starts. Edouard wasn't even on the bench. 2019, Dembele's gone. Edouard's the main man. And that succession planning, Rodgers had this brilliant comment, as much as, depending on your view of him, he said that normal teams have a life cycle of 3 years. At Celtic, it's 2. And I think what he meant by that was all the better players, with the exception of the core, all those bigger players that you'll bring in, you're turning them around and they're gone in 2 years. They move on to something bigger, or you have to reshape the team. If you look at Lenny now, he's got 2 years almost in the gig. He's building his own team. So I think you're bang on the money. It's a leg-for-leg replacement, whether Brown starts and Sorrow's on the bench or vice versa. Where I would be worried about is if he changes the balance of the team. And he's done this before. Rodgers did it. We all know about McGregor at left back and all that nonsense. You don't want to upset the balance of that team. The last 2 games, that team looks very, very balanced on both sides, in the middle, and especially at the back, to your point. We've got 4 defenders playing at the back. Imagine, fucking revolutionary. 4 defenders, and now all of a sudden we look tight. I wouldn't have any qualms about the keeper because he speaks good English and he looks technically better than Bain. So Barkas would stay out of the way. So you play the keeper who can talk. You've got 4 defenders in front of him and our team is balanced. The only fear if it's Brown coming in is that we slow down. And I read a brilliant article about it yesterday. So that when Celtic play at pace, are untouchable domestically and good in Europe. We played at pace against Lille. We played at pace against Kilmarnock, and we looked good. If Brownie comes in and slows that down, you're inviting it. So anyway, just running.
Can I come in on that point, Monty? I agree with most of that. Just on that. Sorry, Daisy. Just on the point about the tempo and balance. You're spot on. But the one thing I would throw in and this is a thing that there's a bit of a myth that many on the online community that happens, right? Goes around Bruni this and Bruni that. We beat Aberdeen 2-0 in the semi-final, right? And the first half is probably the best 45 minutes of football we played that season. The midfield three, I think, that started that day was Bruni, Callum McGregor and Tom Rogic, and we zipped the ball about at pace, right? So we do it when Bruni's there a lot of the time, but I get your point. It became so stagnant, so slow after that, and probably before that most games, but the last two games have been refreshing. Don't change it. Keep it as it is, Neil. Please go with it. And if you lose, the fans will go, do you know what? You made the right team selection. Right? Yeah.
Well, that's a very good point, actually, when you put it that way there, Hector. As in, if we lose, and touchwood, obviously, no one wants that to happen. But we would turn around and say, well, you can't fault the manager unless he totally buggered up the tactics somewhere through the game or in some response. And again, well that brings it. So we're assuming we'll go with that team that's played for the last 2 weeks, and we're assuming that's fine. So if you're Hearts then, and you're planning that, where would you see the Celtic weak areas to attack then? What will Hearts be looking to do? Getting top, because you've got two big central defenders now. You've got Ayer at right back. Do you target him with a tricky left winger? So what do you go for there, do you think? Ralph,
we've got a lack of pace. We're two centre halves. Sorry, Ralph. Lack of pace. The two centre backs, if we play a high line, they're not the quickest. That's one thing I would look to exploit if I was them.
Well, you've got Ayers. Ayers quite quick for covering. That's what I was going to say there. But Ayers quite quick for covering, so you could try and keep him mindful. But again, as long as your defenders defend and don't think they're rampaging wing backs running into the wingers, which has been our problem this season. Ralph?
I think a lot of how Hearts approach a game will depend a lot on whether or not Brown does play. Because if Brown plays, we will play in a certain way. We won't be at a high tempo for 90 minutes. And they'll base themselves around that. They'll know they just need to sit tight, let us play the ball in front of them. And if they can cope with that, they've got a real chance of causing an upset. So, but if I was a Hearts manager, I'd wait and see what we did first. If we play Laxalt, I'd just play down the right all the time. Never seen a guy get a reputation for talent when there's just no beginning to it.
To be fair, Ralph, Laxalt had a great start in Europe with that record-breaking number of tackles or whatever it was in the Europa League game. I think it was 14 tackles in the game. That was a Europa League record. But then it has been that whole kind of headless chicken, and we've highlighted it on etims.net a few times. The whole kind of I love it when you're watching on the TV and you see him running back into shot as if, what's happening, lads? It's like, what's happening? And you're like, you're meant to be running backwards. You're not meant to be running the same. Right, but let's we'll get half an hour left before we'll move on to some dedications and pledges in a second. But let's get some predictions. So, Monty, what do you think for tomorrow? Overall and a score prediction. How do you think it will go?
I think it'll be a good open game, ironically. I don't think Hearts will do what Ralph suggested. I think they'll come at us, which will, I think, suit us. They have a huge point to prove as well, so they're going to be very, very well up for, as do we. I think it'll be a really good game. I think we'll come out on the right side of it. I think we'll concede, but I think we'll grab 2 or 3. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Celtic.
Hector?
I think if you keep it, for me, it's pretty simple. If he keeps it as it is, I can see he's winning by a couple of goals and winning convincingly. If he makes a lot of tweaks, and Neil Lennon's Neil Lennon, right, he's liable to do that, he'll make it maybe harder than it might be. But I still think if he does that, we'll still have enough to maybe win 2-1. But leave it as it is, we'll win at least a couple.
Yes, you did when you said that there, Neil Lennon. I just had visions of Neil Lennon waking up the morning in a bad Sunday mood that we've all had, and that way, bugger it, I'm annoying, and just start shuffling bits of paper, start shuffling the wee disc when he's right, son, come here, shout his son here, right, put your hand in that bag, pick a number out.
Was that not how over?
Don't upset Ralph. Don't upset Ralph bringing Tony Mowbray back in here. Right, Ralph, what's your prediction?
I think we'll be ahead quite comfortably, and then the last 20 minutes will be one of the ones where you're sitting behind the couch, because we've struggled to see a game out this season. I think we'll maybe go ahead, relax, and they'll get back into it. Whether or not it goes to extra time and penalties is a doubt. No, I'm not confident anymore. When Monty mentioned earlier on that we played well twice this season, it's kind of taken away any confidence I had at the start of the show. So thanks for that.
Ricky Fulton's not got a look into this one, has he?
Welcome to I Am Jolly at CSC, everyone. For me...
Oh my God! I thought to slip my wrist.
Hold on. I thought he was going to bring the two dogs. Anybody that ever listens may notice that Ralph's two dogs usually appear on your podcast, Emilio and Charlie. But I thought he was going to bring the dogs up there.
No, I can do it. I can look like a priest.
I think you'll find that's why you get chased at a Dunoon all the years ago, Ralph. For me personally, obviously, if we start the same team, and we should win convincingly. And again, I was tempted to go with Monty's 2-0 or 2-1. But again, I think the most interesting thing will be if Hearts score first. So again, hopefully we've been doing training on set pieces, because I'm sure Hearts will be working on them. They've tended to have a wee bit of kind of experimental kind of set pieces over the years. So hopefully we're ready for those, and we've got Julian and Duffy at the other end for our set pieces. Hopefully they can get up. I'll be betting on them.
If I was a betting man, I'd back Duffy to score tomorrow. Hearts 2 centre halves whose names escape me.
2-4.
Right, Ralph, you may find that sitting in a motorway isn't really the best audio, the best sound for a podcast that we're trying to do at the moment. So if you want to just roll your windows up and just let the smoke fill the car, that'll be fine with us.
Right. What a suicide attempt. We're talking about a cup final, he's had enough.
Right, so that's the Scottish Cup. Let me just check a few of the pledges that have come in on our Giza Shout Hoops hashtag. Let me just check. Okay, I've got a big shout out and a thanks to Stevie, Tony, Kev and Shug the Blue Nose over at the Drumore CSC. That's over your way, I believe, Monty. They've just made a great big donation. They want a special mention to their wee pal Arlene, who was out doing a sponsored Kiss Me Quick booth, which was a great success. Apparently it didn't raise any money, but she did scare the COVID virus off the streets for a wee while. So that's nice to hear. Anything on your side, Hector?
Yeah, we get a £10 donation from a Lanarkshire based punter, who just would like to apologise to Mr. Gerrard, the Rangers players, the Rangers fans, and especially his father for his appalling lack of fitness. And that was from Andrew Dallas in Lanarkshire. Thanks. Hope
you recover by next season, Andrew. Thanks. Okay, what else have I got? We've got a last promotion-based donation just came in from the Springfield Road Global Video, one for the Celtic dads there. They've made a donation to highlight the release of Tenet on DVD, and that they've asked me to highlight that's the Christopher Nolan time travel movie, not 10 E.T., the new Celtic video, which is 10, the number, and then E.T., which stands for Entitled Troublemakers. Apparently Peter Lawwell's got a new release there. And then what else have we got? We've got a shout out for all the boys at the Parkhead Fence and Barrier Company. Apparently they've come into a recent surprise windfall, so they're happy to share some of the cash. So that's nice of them. Thanks very much.
I got a message in here from a group message from a WhatsApp account here, and it basically just says, "Don't worry, Andrew. We promise to make it up to you. Lots of love and sashes." And that's from Johnny Beaton, Stevie McLean, and apparently the Lanarkshire Referees Association. So thanks to you guys for that donation.
Lovely. Okay, I've got one closer to home for us. Anyone who's listened to our podcast over the years may have heard Andy, aka Broadsword. Well, he's just wrote in to say Andy's willing to pay the ransom. The donation, as long as we don't keep mentioning that he's got a picture of him and Peter Lawwell on his profile, looking so very chummy. So apparently he's trying to change that, but we just won't let him. So we'll keep that in mind, Andy. And I've got a final one here from someone called Brenna Paul, who asked for a shout-out for their beloved Uncle Peter over in Parkhead. Apparently Peter suddenly had to go into isolation the other week. Nothing to do with COVID, and it seems Peter's hoping to get a day out on the south side of Glasgow tomorrow afternoon. So that's nice. So bless them both. Anything else?
I've got one more in it, and it's from a fan in Glasgow's West End who was asking about Celtic fans being angry and protesting. But then he writes in capitals here. He's got angry. I'll show you fucking angry. You seen my fucking face? From Alan McGregor, Glasgow's West End.
Pure Greeks. In fact, you've been in the West End. I'm actually going further west. I'm going to Paisley now. I've got one that's from an Alexander Ray. Alexander Ray has offered some money if we help highlight health issues out in the Paisley area. Apparently it's not COVID. It just seems everybody that Alex met after the game the other night were complaining of a sore jaw and bursting sides. So something for the health service to look into over in Paisley there.
Got one in, lads. Got one in from Dublin.
Hold on, we'll get a Dublin one.
Dublin, from a guy who calls himself Desmond Dermott, wanted to pledge 20 quid. He says, stick that right up you. That fella lol's tighter than a camel's arse in a sandstorm. Take that. Now, I have no idea who this guy is, but he's throwing 20 quid in. He could have a minute.
But can I just check, was it cash or was it a cheque that says unsigned or undated? Can you confirm?
We can meet him at a motorway bridge off the M.
That sounds more like it. Hector, anything else?
No, I was just going to say, in terms of maybe we've got 20 odd minutes left, right? And maybe put something to you guys, and we kind of covered this in our chat the other day. But obviously, tomorrow, if we win, it'll be a quadruple treble, right? An amazing achievement, even the treble, double treble. But my question to you guys is, it's not about so much this season. I think the focus had been in 10 in a row. I think everyone would, that's been the focus. If we win tomorrow, and we look back 10 years from now, or maybe longer from now, what do you think would be the biggest achievement? Would be Celtic winning 10 in a row, or Celtic doing a quadruple treble? So, Desi, to you first of all.
Personally, I think 10 in a row trumps everything. I don't recall anybody ever talking about any treble. In football, realistically, it doesn't really matter. I know it's an amazing achievement, and I know the trebles. It was an amazing achievement, and the quadruple treble would be an amazing achievement. But history-wise and status-wise, I don't really think it matters that much, because for me personally, everything peaked in my Celtic lifetime. I wasn't kind of an old enough Celtic fan to appreciate the first 9 in a row, so to speak. But I did appreciate stopping the first 10 in a row for Rangers. So then, for myself, from my personal point of view, I just think we peaked at the Invincible season in the way that the way that all acclimatised. And the treble, it didn't really bother me that much. It became a big kind of more marketing kind of achievement to me, to be honest. I wasn't really that involved in it. I didn't really care that much. But 10 in a row, I think that is the most emotional and the most kind of pivotal thing. Everybody will look back and say, I remember where I was when we won or lost 10 in a row. Because we certainly, I don't remember many trebles back in my Celtic lifetime, but I do remember what happened when we stopped 10 in a row for Rangers. You know what I mean? So I think that, for me, 10 in a row is massive.
Ralph, thanks. Ralph, maybe a question to you. As I say, it's not so much this season, right? Obviously, we want to do both. But if we look back in time, we had the conversation 10 years from now or 15 years from now, hopefully. What would you think would be seen as the biggest, historically, achievement?
Whatever happens tomorrow, it's going to be the end of the domestic dominance. Whether it's 11 trophies, 12 trophies, whatever. The 10 in a row, because we've done 9 twice, which is once more than them, I don't think it matters as much. But that period of winning absolutely everything that was on offer in Scotland for 4 years won't happen again. And there might be another 9 in a row, there might even be a 10 in a row one day. But nobody's going to win like we have, and I think that's what we'll look back at this period and think more of. If we win the treble tomorrow, it'll only be the 7th one in history, which is why maybe we don't hold great stock by them, because we've not had that many. But to get 4 out of the 7 in the last 4 years, it is a period that we'll look back on, and it'll never be replicated. So that one for me is more important. I'm not that bothered about the 10 anymore.
Thanks, Maury.
We put that much into it. I'm not as bothered about it as I thought I would be. If we don't get it, we don't get it. We've still got 9 twice. That'll do me, I think.
Monty, what do you think?
Up until for me, the most important thing was doing 9, right? Just simply because of the pressure of getting there. And what it does is it equals some. I tend to look a wee bit more inward on our achievements than externally. And I think for us, doing 9 in a row twice is just, we got to see it in our lifetimes. Doing 10 in a row isn't really as significant, in my opinion, as most people seem to have bought into the frenzy with. There's clubs out there who have done 14, 15 in a row, so it's not a world record. It's not it's a parochial thing, and it had validity before Rangers got liquidated in 2012 and disappeared. So 15 in a row, absolutely, if we had an obsession with that, I would buy into. But for me, yeah, it'd be great. And we've just got so used to success. But to win 12 domestic trophies in a row, to create complete dominance in a 4-year period or 3.5-year period, to do an invincible treble season, I think those things in a few years' time will be far, far more story of winning another league. Because again, take the pressure off this year. I would happily see Celtic next year, winning this or not, starting again from afresh. And we talked about it on podcasts. Change the club structures, clear the kids. Take a couple of years of just not being as sure of it or as sure of dominance, and build something truly special from scratch. So for me, winning 12 domestic, it won't be done again in world football at the top level. It just simply won't. And I think if you're to look externally and calibrate yourself with the best, set a record, a real record. And 10 in a row, yeah, I hate what it did to us over the last couple of months with the pressure. As a support, I hate how we turned on it.
Okay, I would just thanks. Just Desi, just you made an interesting point there about nobody really spoke about the trebles, and I think that's bang on. And that for me is why I think if the question was what would I rather have, win 10 in a row this year or win tomorrow's cup final? 10 in a row, right? Absolutely. I think we'd all pretty much without doubt say that, right? But the question is, looking back over time, what we regard as the biggest achievement? I think it'd be winning 4 trebles in a row. And the reason for that is nobody ever spoke about it because nobody ever expected anything like this to happen, right? You might get 1 treble. Nobody ever mentioned back when Rodgers took over we'd win 6 trophies in a row, 9 trophies in a row with Lennon coming in, maybe 12. It just was never thought about because it never happened anywhere in world football. So for me, 10 in a row has been done elsewhere, 14 in a row has been done elsewhere. No club in the world has ever done a double treble. Forget a treble. To win 12 consecutive trophies will never be done any club in the world. So for me, historically, that's a bigger achievement.
And to Ralph's point, it's the end of the cycle tomorrow, no matter what. No matter what, that's the end of it. We either win this, and this thing gets parked and gets documented, and we move on.
So what are you saying, Monty? Regardless of what happens tomorrow, we still got them protest at the Celtic Park. That's basically what you're saying here, isn't it?
Full of fences down there. Young Turks and 4 Tims in a podcast, whatever they're called, the wee wank. Get the hell along.
Right. It's interesting, but it's interesting hearing you guys with it. Like again, it might be a Celtic daft thing. You get a wee bit more mature kind of outlook, but globally it doesn't really matter. But I don't really care about globally, if that makes sense. I just want to concentrate on being the first team in Scotland to ever win 10 times.
It's that parochialism that'll bury us. It's that parochialism that's ruining us.
That's why you left to live in London.
You're the only guy amongst us that voted for Brexit, right?
I think you'll find my Union Jacks up there and proud. I think you'll find I'm the only person that doesn't live in a Brexit stronghold.
Oh, he's getting defensive now. He's getting defensive. Look on the go.
Said the man in the north of Glasgow suburbs and the man who lives in Stoke. You know what I mean? What chance have you got? And the man in Belfast. What chance have you got?
I'm going to have to show my passport if I want to go to Celtic Park because we've got to look at Economic United Ireland now. Thanks to I'm a Richie.
No chance. Well, again, no. I'd just like to be the first. I just think we'd look at people. I just think the 10 in a row as a heartfelt thing. The 12 in a row cups is a in titles is a kind of stats thing, which has no emotional attack. It's got no emotion attached to it. The quadruple treble. There's no emotion there, but you've got lots of emotion with 10 in a row. Because we would. I'm telling you.
No, but see, you said no emotion. Right?
Yep.
So I was lucky enough. I went to the one we beat Hearts in the final, the last cup final, 2-1, right? And there wasn't a tear. There wasn't a dry eye in the house at Hampden when we scored that late goal with Edouard and we won the treble. The emotion at Hampden that day was something else. So I was in the ground, out the ground. Like that.
That was your treble. Is anybody going to be crying tomorrow for a quadruple treble? Realistically.
But nobody's at the game. Games.
Are you going to be in tears?
You need to factor that in as well, that we're not at the ground. We're not feeling it the way we would normally feel it. Watching it on the television doesn't have the same effect, no matter who you're watching it with, no matter how much you've had to drink. Mm-hmm. It's not the same. And that maybe is part of the reason for the collapse this season. We never felt like we'd won 9 in a row. We never felt like we'd equalled or set a new record, should I say. Because it didn't happen as such, because we weren't there to see it happen. And the whole thing's kind of rolled over to this season. And maybe had there been crowds allowed at the game tomorrow, it would have been different. But there's not. And it's like watching a TV show sometimes. It's just not the same. So actually, no matter what happens, I'll start again when crowds come back in. So we've stopped at 8. And then the first season we get with support, that'll be our 9th. Then we can do our 10th. And nothing else in between counts. There you are.
Ralph, see this alternative take on actual reality. This is also why you know where the police station is in Stoke. That's what I'm saying. What you view as reality is not actually true. Right, so okay, we've got 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left, right? So that's a good look at the historical achievement perspective. But we'll kind of go back to Scottish Cup, just to wrap up, right? So we talked about tomorrow's Scottish Cup looking forward. Looking back, and again, viewers and listeners, I'll apologise in advance in case Ralph forgets the difference between a League Cup and a Scottish Cup, considering we've had this conversation already. What's your favourite or first or most memorable Scottish Cup recollections? I'll start with Monty. I'll give Ralph time to try and remember what's a League Cup and what's a Scottish Cup. Monty, anything spring in mind? What's the first one you remember? We've got 10 minutes.
Well, the first one I remember in terms of vivid sort of up is obviously the Centenary Cup final. Just for the drama and the pageantry and how we won it. It was just spectacular. I think the Joe Miller Cup final the following year, we were in a very different place, was also memorable just because of the nature of the goal. It was a throw-in that wasn't ours, and he goes and nicks it.
It was.
God bless Big Roy. God bless him.
There's Ralph's alternative reality again. No, that was a Celtic throw-in. Always was a Celtic throw-in.
1990 at Hampden for me sticks in my head ironically because we lost it. The 89-90 season when Aberdeen beat us on penalties. I remember Anton Rogan missing the penalty. He was distraught. And he'd actually had a really good game, which for Anton, you could rarely say that. He was solid, but he had a really good game, I think. And I remember coming out of Hampden, I was a teenager. We ended up in a pub in Tollcross, and the drunkest I think I was in my teenage years. And we just had the biggest laugh. And it was like almost a bit of, that self-immolation type thing where you're just beating yourself up, but it didn't matter. We'd lost it. I remember this guy came in, and he came in with a big red and white scarf on him. And I remember, and he kind of walked as if he was like Kevin Spacey in The Usual Suspects. He had that walk about him. And everybody went dead silent, going, what the fuck's this guy? And then all his mates came in behind him all wearing Celtic gear, and they all just burst out laughing. It was in whatever pub it was. So there's something magical about the Scottish Cup, whether you win it or lose. It sets a tone for you. Or a few hours of just getting a little bit morose, and then we move on. And I think it's one of the...
Hey, Daisy, what about you?
No, Hector, I was going to come to you first because you and I are of a similar age, ex-St Mary's team, etc., same kind of years. And I was just going to say to you, do you remember the good old days when the Scottish Cup final, I don't know if Ralph had moved to England by then, But the good old days of the Scottish Cup final and the English FA Cup final were played at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. And if it wasn't Celtic in it, or it wasn't Rangers v Aberdeen, say, you used to get people who would go to Dumfries to watch the FA Cup final, things like that, because you could get both TV signals.
I'm like you. The first one I can remember, and I can remember as a kid, was 75. I was a wee kid, to be fair to folk. I was really wee because it was Dominic Neal's last game, the Celtic player. And I remember he was getting held up. The old way he used to put the captain in the shoulders, and he retired after that game in 75. But the first cup final I went to, Scottish Cup final, was the 85 one, when I think Dundee United were a good team at the time, and we scored a fantastic free kick. I think Gallagher was 88. Was
that 88? Was that good?
That was 88. Was Kevin Gallagher, but 85. Remember, he scored one each, brilliant free kick, and then Big Roy being Big Roy, he's pointing to the team, charges down the right, a brilliant cross, and Frank McGarvey just threw a diving header. So that was the first cup final I was at. That was brilliant. I would say that one, the centenary one, is Monty said, because double centenary. But then obviously the Rogic one for the Invincible, that's got to be up there. I mean, that was just something else, isn't it? Last minute, twinkle toes, right foot, and the celebrations, Invincible treble. That's got to be up there, top, probably the top actually. That one.
No, the Rogic one, like especially, I remember last day, right, this next to Hampden, but even like walking through my house to the seat in Hampden, maybe 10 minutes, and me and my daughter get soaked to the skin. Like it was like bouncing the rain. It was mental the rain that day, the Rogic one. And I was at the back, and this is not a pretty sight, which I wouldn't want to have wished on anybody to see. But I actually had to take my top off and wring it out. It was that wet. I mean, but again, it was that clammy kind of end of season. We actually had some decent weather, and I remember being at the top of the Hampden steps, wringing the top out, and then like when that goal went in, and that was literally one of the hugging strangers moments. You know, this bedlam, sheer bedlam, and then coming back.
Were you celebrating a treble? Were you celebrating a treble?
No. See, I was coming to that because what it was is my wife always picks 2-1 for every game, so it meant my wife got her coupon up that day. So that's why I was really happy. I didn't realise it was a treble that day. No, but that was another aside, because then the Arsenal, I don't know if Arsenal were playing Chelsea or whoever they were playing in the following FA Cup final, because they'd moved the FA Cup final, that ended up being a 2-1-2. So we were at a party after it, and my cousins who's celebrating Celtic, and then suddenly realised my wife had got a 2-1 scoreline, the actual double up. So that was a double celebration during a treble game. There's some maths for you. But no, for me, if you do, I don't know if this will work. We'll try it. If you look behind me, you can kind of see Big Roy and Margaret Thatcher on my wall there. God bless them. So I've got
a picture of Margaret Thatcher in your wall.
Always keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's the original sports photograph from that day. I bought that in honour, because that was the last game. That was the last cup final. Me, my dad, and my brother went to together. My dad would die the following year. And then and he was buried the week of the Joe, and my dad was called Joe, and he was buried the week of the Joe Miller final. And that whole week, I mentioned this to you guys the other day, that whole week when we were planning the funeral with my dad's brother, my Uncle Pat, and that, I think who I've now got his season book, my Uncle Pat's season book, we planned it, we had a running bet going the whole week. And then I had with the winnings, I had the bet on Joe Miller to score the first goal at 14-1. So that came in. So Joe Miller's goal in the Scottish Cup final has always been my favourite Celtic goal. I mean, I love the Rogic goal was great in that, but Joe Miller's goal in that Scottish Cup final, that is my beloved Celtic moment, standing on the steps with my brother and my brother's pal, because my dad couldn't be there, and Joe scored in that the day after my dad's funeral. And then I get back into the bookies, and everybody was like, it was a local Tour of Glen bookies, and everybody's kind of making that frowny sad face, that kind of unlucky, and I'm kind of happy because I get Joe Miller, the one in Joe Miller, 10 on Joe Miller to score the first goal at 14-1, and it turned out a £20 running on Celtic and Liverpool, the double at 91, and Stuart McCall, that wee ginger rat, scored with 10 seconds to go for Everton, and that beat my bet, and that's what everybody was on. So I've hated Stuart McCall long before he signed for Rangers. In 1989, I've hated Stuart McCall, John Aldridge game. So that's my favourite Scottish Cup game. But as you say, Hector, I remember the Billy McNeil one on the TV, I remember watching the Frank McGarvey one lying on the carpet. I mean, it's amazing how big occasions the Scottish Cup final was. Mind, it used to start at 10 in the morning, the coverage, the road to Hampden, that sort of stuff. Whereas now it's like there's a game on at one.
Our coverage was always shite, wasn't it? Ours was always shite compared to the English Cup final. They had helicopters and all over. They had one guy with a camcorder walking about up and down the streets of Glasgow talking to people.
They had an hour. They used to have an hour on just getting the suits made for the final. Remember, where we get literally 10 minutes of a guy off cut. Probably that guy in Toll Cross that met Monty that night. I mean, saying it was quite bad.
And it was always a guy with a Tammy, wasn't it? Always a guy with a Tammy was the guy that always got.
A guy's actually got a guy at a time machine for 30 years ago that you'd never seen at the games. No, that way you'd have this kind of got this guy out the archive, or they've sent a guy in the Hampden Museum and said, put the clays on and pretend you're a football fan. Right, so we're literally at the last minute or so here. Ralph, what's yours? I don't even know if we covered yours. What's your favourite League Cup? I'll ask you just so you get them mixed up again.
This is the thing, I can't tell the difference once. I never read the programme, so I don't know what tournament it is. The first one I went to was Celtic 6, Hibs 3, with my dad, Uncle Kenny, 73-74, but that was a League Cup final. The other one that sticks in my mind was when we beat Dunfermline just after Jimmy Johnson died, and that was a League Cup final. So I've got no idea. Really got no idea. I don't like Hampden. I try and avoid all the surroundings. I just go in and watch a game, perhaps have a glass of white ale to celebrate, and then go home. So I've got no idea. Absolutely none. Oh, wait now. The one where John Hartson was offside. What about that one? I remember that one. Because I was sitting level with Hartson when they flagged him offside against Rangers. He hit the post in a penalty. I remember that one as well.
Did we get beat 3-0?
Was that a League Cup game?
Probably. I think that was a League Cup as well, wasn't it? I've no idea. That's why I like trebles, because I can get them mixed up and nobody notices.
Okay, let me just check. We've got a couple of final pledges.
And then people wonder whether the diary's inaccurate. Jesus Christ.
Hold on, Ralph. Let me just check. We're currently at £12,384. So thanks everyone for the donations. Please try and keep them coming and keep the echoing out.
If they're watching this, they'll be asking for their money back.
Exactly, refunds. I've got a couple of late pledges. Apparently, Laurie from Denison has did a sponsored big wood waffle on Clyde Super Scoreboard this week, and apparently that's generated a small fortune. So well done. And we've got a final, very large donation from a Prince Andrew Windsor. He's made a donation. We called him to thank him, but he said no sweat. So that's good.
There's one.
Daisy,
there's one I've had.
Final one. A big sorry.
Yes.
One from Boris and Matthew in London. They're not sending any money, but they're going to give us a round of applause.
Oh, that's perfect. Hector, you want to close up?
I was going to say the final one. A big shout out to Tam McPipe, who is a fitter and maintenance expert of heated driveways in the Thornton Hall area. So thanks to Tam for that donation for £50.
To be fair to Tam, he's been rolling in the money for quite a while now, so he's doing all right. But yeah, again, let's just echo what we said at the very start of the podcast, on this podcast. A big thanks to John Paul. I got it right. Did I get? No, I got it wrong again. So Paul John. So to Paul John.
That's right. Favorite John Paul.
Yeah. So to Paul John Young, to Paul John and everyone at ACSOM for all the amazing work this weekend and getting this together. Hopefully everyone's appreciating it, and then hopefully we can get as much money raised as possible. I'm just waiting for John Paul to pop up to see if he's going to play the latest charity tribute.
Paul John. Not Paul John. John Paul.
It'll always be John Paul. Let's be honest. As Monty said, he's just changed that for marketing purposes. Everybody, I mean, who's going to christen their Wayne Paul John? That doesn't even make sense. Let's be honest. Paul Joseph, I could understand, but not a Paul John. PJ. I think he went about school called PJ. And did he have a pal called Duncan? There's a question. There's a say. I never remember questions. Lyndon has been in touch to say he'll denote the cost of a few prawns on the barbie at Christmas for his cousin's antics, so that's quite good. So we'll just wait to see what happens. I think who have we got coming up next on ours? It's not coming up and showing at the moment. But again, for 24 hours, 24 hours, a massive achievement to what, and again, a reflection of the true Celtic ethos, especially in respect of how we've seen the board and various individuals acting recently. So we can only give credit to Paul, John. See, I don't know why you keep getting it wrong, guys. Quite easy to remember.
Just as just when you mentioned that, just a wee quick shout out to the Plowboys CSC over in Philadelphia. When you mention the ethos of Celtic, that's a squad of fellas and ladies that are 100% part of the fabric of Celtic. And I know I mentioned them on a podcast some while back. I'm looking forward to getting back over there to see them. But it'll be it's an early start for the likes of those, and you go further west even again. But tomorrow there's going to be hundreds of thousands all over the world, hopefully seeing a quadruple treble. So I can see the St. Roch's guys are probably good to come in behind us. So hopefully Paul John's good to let me go and get my afternoon nap.
Lovely, yes, lovely. Yeah, and as I said, there's loads out there, especially on Twitter, doing great work, especially around about Christmas time, raising some amount of money. So well done to everyone in the Celtic world, even the statisticians that I love so much. All right, I think we're good to go. Thanks very much for listening.